It's a strange thing how your life can be ruined in a single moment. Not with a scream, not with an explosion, but with the indifference of the person you'd give your life for. For me, it was a Tuesday evening. The air smelled of garlic and basil from the sauce I was stirring, clinging to one of those rare, peaceful moments spent with my teenage daughter. And she was on the phone, lost in a world where I didn't exist. She started talking about her mom's new boyfriend, the BMW, the fancy restaurants, the planned trips to Europe. Each word was a little paper cut, but I'd grown used to them by then. I'd learned to bleed quietly. But then she looked up, and her eyes, they weren't my little girl's eyes anymore. They were cold, filled with contempt. They were her mother's eyes. And she said the words that broke the last good thing inside me. Tell you the truth, Dad. You're only mad because Mom made her life better. I didn't say a word. I just set the spoon down, walked to the counter, and picked up my car keys. The sound of the door closing behind me was the sound of a chapter ending. But what did my daughter know? That the next chapter would be written by me, and it would be in black and white, on a spreadsheet that would destroy her entire world. My name is David. For 42 years, I've tried to be a good man, a good husband, a good father. For 15 years, I was a shadow at the family table, the one who worked 60 hours a week to cover the house, the vacations, the future expenses. My love was shown through duty. It wasn't flashy, but it was constant. Then, 3 years ago, the divorce happened. It was ugly, as they usually are. But I thought we'd built a safe fortress around our daughter, Chloe. I was wrong. We hadn't built a fortress. My ex-wife, Sarah, had built a stage, and on it, she was performing a tragedy where I was the villain. Sarah moved in with Mark, and Mark was everything I wasn't. He was slick, drove a German car worth more than my first house, and his life was a highlight reel of luxuries. I became the bitter ex-husband in her new narrative, the dead weight holding her back, financially inadequate, and for 3 years she'd been feeding this story to Chloe in poisoned little bites. That Tuesday, it all erupted. Chloe was recounting the latest exploits of Mark the Magnificent. Chloe: and Mark says the support payments you make are a joke, Dad. Mom says if you really cared about our future, you wouldn't be so stubborn. Stubborn? I'd eaten ramen noodles for a month so I could pay for her ballet classes without making her feel obligated. Stubborn? David: do you really believe that, Chloe, that I'm trying to hurt you all? She rolled her eyes, a gesture she'd learned from her mother. And then she delivered the killing blow. Chloe, dramatically, cold and final: tell you the truth, Dad, you're only mad because Mom made her life better. The silence in that kitchen was louder than any argument we'd ever had. I looked at this teenage girl, this stranger, wearing my daughter's face, and I felt something fundamental inside me break. The nurturer in me, the part that always forgave, always absorbed the pain. It finally died, and in its place, something else was born. Something colder, cleaner. I turned off the stove. The click was deafening. I walked to the door. She didn't even look up from her phone. I drove for 2 hours. The hum of the engine was my only companion. I replayed moments of my life in my mind. All those late nights at the office, the missed bedtime stories, telling myself it was all for them. For her. So she'd have a college fund, wedding money, the life I never had. And in return, I was a bitter failure, a burden. But then, drowning in my own grief, a crystal clear thought emerged. What if I just stopped? Not the court-ordered support. I'd never abandoned my legal, my moral obligations, but the extras, the safety net. For 3 years, I'd secretly been Sarah's financial partner. Rent when she was in debt? Me. Honda car payments? Me. The whole family's phone bill? Me. Emergency money for the Disneyland trip? Me. I was helping them live the life they were weaponizing against me. I was paying for the bullets being fired into my own heart. And in that moment, driving on rain-slicked roads, I made a decision. The free ride was over. The next morning, I said as usual, "Come on, I'll drop you at school." Chloe: you ready? I have a quiz first period. David: I'm not dropping you today. You'll have to find another way. Close up on Chloe's face, confusion, then a wave of shock. Chloe: what? What are you saying? I'll be late. David: I understand, but since I'm just a bitter failure who can't accept that your mom made her life better, I figure it's better if you ask that better life for a ride. I'm sure there's plenty of room in her BMW. Panic set in. She called her mom, voicemail, again and again. Chloe: Mom, call me. Dad's being weird and I'm going to be late for school. please. I watched her spin, her anxiety peaking. This was bigger than being late for school. This was the foundation of her world shaking. David. This isn't about the quiz, Chloe. It's about consequences. You see, the bitter failure you think I am is the same person who's quietly made sure there's been a roof over your head. Her eyes narrowed. What does that mean? I turned the laptop toward her. On the screen was a spreadsheet, meticulously organized, 3 years of data. This, I said, my voice low, is what actually making a life better looks like. The camera slowly focuses on the laptop screen. We see line after line of expenses. Extra rent contribution $1,200, car payment $380, family phone plan $225, Disneyland emergency $2,000. At the bottom, the total glows. $42,750. Over $22,000. Beyond any court order. Money I'd sent without question, without drama, because the thought of my child's momentary discomfort was unbearable to me. I watched her eyes scan the lines. Recognition dawned slowly, then horrifically. She saw her life broken down into financial statements. The new iPhone? My silence had paid for it. The vacation she'd bragged about, my ramen dinners had funded it. Chloe. Why? Why didn't Mom tell me? David. Because the story works better when I'm the villain, but the truth, Chloe, doesn't care about stories. The truth just is. The truth train hit her full force. The fancy restaurants, the BMW. It was all smoke. When it came to paying the real bills, they still called me. Making life better was a facade, and I was the hollow foundation holding it up. I stood. I have to get to work. You'll figure something out. Her pleas fell on deaf ears. Not because I'm cruel, but because some lessons are too important to be taught with words. As I walked out the door, I gave her one final assignment. David. For the next month, you can experience what life is like if I really am the man you think I am. The fallout was immediate and spectacular. Sarah showed up at my door, furious. What kind of father abandons his child? I handed her the spreadsheet. The kind who's tired of being the villain in the wallet. Effective immediately, you'll get only what the court ordered, not a penny more. Her face went ashen. It was the look of someone watching their safety net vanish. She ranted about the kids suffering, about my pettiness. You made your life better, Sarah. Now it's time for that better life to handle its own responsibilities. And just like that, the cracks appeared. The BMW boyfriend, Mark, suddenly got busy with investments when Sarah asked him to co-sign for a cheaper place. The fancy dinners stopped. The facade was crumbling, and beneath it was the harsh reality she couldn't sustain without my secret support. Meanwhile, Chloe came to me. Her voice had changed, smaller. The entitled teen was gone, replaced by a confused young woman. Chloe. I'm so sorry, Dad. I was so angry about the divorce and it was easy to blame you. Mom made it sound so logical. But now I get it. Now I get you. My heart ached for her, but the new me, forged that Tuesday night in the kitchen, stood firm. David. I appreciate that, Chloe, but respect isn't built on an apology. It's built on actions. From now on, only what the court ordered, period. If you need a ride, ask respectfully, and I'll see if it fits my schedule. But the days of being taken for granted are over. She nodded, the weight of the lesson finally settling on her shoulders. The final test came when Sarah, cornered, tried to use Chloe as a pawn. She told her to convince me to resume the payments. But my daughter, now armed with the truth, did something extraordinary. She went to her mom and said, I think you need to figure this out yourself. It's not fair to Dad. Sarah's mask completely slipped. She accused me of brainwashing, manipulation. In a last, desperate move, she threatened Chloe. Sarah, dramatically, sharp voice, maybe you should just live with your father if you're going to side with him on everything. She expected fear, retreat. Instead, she got clarity. Chloe, you know what? I think I will. Her bluff was called by her own daughter. The look on Sarah's face was karma's masterpiece. 2 weeks later, Chloe moved in with me permanently. The life improver, Mark, had vanished entirely, unable to handle a family with real-world problems. And my daughter? She blossomed. She got a part-time job. She started budgeting herself. She asked me to teach her about finances. The detached, phone-obsessed teen was transforming into a responsible, empathetic young woman. The final piece fell into place when Sarah called me. Not with demands, but with humility. Sarah. I was wrong, David, about so many things. I was unfair. Can we try to co-parent better? I agreed, but on my terms of truth and mutual respect. Last night, Chloe thanked me. She said, "Dad, I finally understand the difference between someone who says they love you and someone who shows it, no matter how bad you act." She looked at me, my daughter, really seeing me for the first time in years. Chloe, dramatically, soft voice. "You were never a burden, Dad. You were the foundation, and I'm sorry it took me so long to see it." The revenge I got wasn't planned. It wasn't violent or malicious. It was simply the truth. I just stopped absorbing the consequences of other people's choices. I stepped back and let them experience life without me, without my quiet, unappreciated support. And they quickly learned what they'd actually lost. My daughter learned the value of what she had just in time. Her mother learned it far too late. And I learned that sometimes the most powerful revenge is living a good life, with boundaries, self-respect, and the quiet satisfaction of letting karma wipe the dirt clean. Sometimes, the best improvement isn't a new person, it's a new perspective. Thanks for watching. Subscribe me more stories.